What's going on, everybody? John from Twisby Records, and today I wanted to share with you a few things that I wish I had been told when I first started doing this. When you get into audio, music, mixing, mastering, production, all those things, there's not really a manual on how to do this. Everybody thinks they can do it and do it well, and it leads to a lot of bad information being out there and some stuff that can be really common sense you don't end up thinking about or being told about until way down the line. So these are a few things that I think would benefit you, as I know they benefited me, and hopefully you get something from this video. I would ask you to take a second to like this video, drop a comment, tell me what you think, whether you agree with this, if this can help you out, or if you have something that I didn't mention, please feel free to share it as well, as we try to all help each other out here on our respective journeys. And of course, if you haven't smashed that subscribe button yet, smash that subscribe. We'll have plenty of content coming in the future.
I hate long intros!
All right, the first thing that I wish I had been told or knew when I started is to not start off every project with a whole bunch of plugins. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I'm sitting down to mix a song, for example, instead of just opening up the session before even hitting play, starting to load it up with a whole bunch of plugins of things I think that it needs, and cluttering things up real quickly, stop. Don't do that. Before you even reach for a plugin, listen to everything, get a sense for what you're working with, and then start with a fader balance first. Get a rough mix in with fader balance. Then after you get the level set and it's blended and it starts to sound like a song, then start reaching for the plugins with a goal in mind, of course. Don't just throw a plug in there because you think you need it. If you want to compress a snare to get it to have a certain sound, then do that. Don't just throw a compressor on a snare because you think the snare needs a compressor. Sometimes it doesn't. Before you even reach for a plugin, you need to know exactly why you are reaching for that plugin. If you want to EQ a snare to get a fatter sound out of it, maybe you throw a Pultec style EQ on there, beef up the low mids a little bit. If you want a really snappy bass, maybe you throw an 1176 style compressor on there to get it tightened up and to get it to really lock in and move and groove with the music that you're working with. Don't just grab a plugin, EQ, compressor, reverb, whatever the case may be, because you just think that you need it there. Use it with purpose. Starting off with too many plugins is also a great way to overcook things. Less is more, and it's taken a long time for me to realize that in my own journey, but better results can be had by using way less processing. That ties into having a plan for each plugin that you actually use. You'll get to a point where you know which plugins that you like using, can achieve the results in your head very fast and efficiently with them, and you may want to start off with having them in your sessions. Those plugins will be there ready and waiting for you if you decide that you need them, and all you'll need to do is just unbypass them and dial them in. So with that being said, I can't emphasize enough that before you even begin to reach for a plugin, make sure that you take a moment to think critically why you're reaching for that plugin, what its purpose is going to be. Don't feel like you have to grab a compressor or a certain EQ and put it on whatever track, whether it's a kick drum, snare, bass guitar, just because you think it needs to be there. When you listen critically and think critically, you may find that it doesn't need to be there. You don't have to feel like you have to do that because there's some guy on YouTube telling you that you need to put 60 different compressor plugins on one single snare channel. The more that you do this and the better that you get at it in refining your ear, you will find that less is more, especially when it comes to plugins. On the subject of plugins, another thing that I wish I knew or was told when I was starting out is you don't need to buy 1,000 plugins.
They didn't teach you that at Full Sail?
No, they didn't teach me that at Full Sail. I think I missed the you don't need to buy 1,000 plugins class in my curriculum.
It was probably an elective. Yeah, it was an elective. That's probably.
Yeah, it most certainly was an elective. I elected not to take it. You don't need 1,000 tools that do almost all basically the same thing with small variations. Because when you have that many, you're going to end up using maybe 5% of them anyways. What you should do instead is find 20 plugins, get really good at using them, read the manuals, put them through their paces, and then you'll have everything that you need in your toolbox to get consistent results each and every single time you open up a session. Plugins don't make a mix, and there's not a single plugin you can buy that's going to make you magically better just overnight. And of course, I'm not saying don't buy plugins. Almost every single third-party manufacturer offers a demo. Use the demo in the trial period to get to know what it does. Read the manual too, to get a better understanding of how it'll operate best. Use that time to learn if it's a tool that you actually need and not just something that you want. Utilities like Soothe and Gullfoss are great, and they can be the extra 5% that's missing to get you all the way across the finish line, but they're not necessary every single time. Another thing I wish I had known or was told is to learn when to walk away, and don't be afraid to do it. When you sit down and you do this all day, every day, whether you're working on your own music or you're doing this for a living, your ears are going to get burnt out. There's nothing that you can do to stop this. It's just what happens when you sit here listening to sounds all day for 8 hours plus a day. Your ears are going to get fatigued. And the only thing that you can do about that is take a break. When your ears get burnt out, you're not going to be able to hear things as clearly. And when you're sitting there grinding it out for 10 hours at a time, you're going to get mentally tired, and then that's when you're going to start to make bad decisions. Take a 10-minute smoke break, go take a half-hour lunch, sit down and play video games for an hour, go somewhere else and do something for 4 hours. Whatever it takes to get you rested, refreshed, and give your ears time to reset. That way, the next time you sit down and open up whatever project you're working on, you'll be able to get right back into it and make good decisions and get that thing done. I can't overstate how important fresh ears and a rested mind are, because it's the closest thing aside from third-party feedback to give you a good perspective. The amount of clarity that you'll have on whatever you're working on after taking just a day away from it is mind-blowing. If you're working with a deadline, make sure to budget time in for breaks. That way you can continue to make good decisions and impress whoever you're working with or for. If you're not working with a deadline or you're working on your own material, still be sure to budget in good time for rest and relaxation. That way you can continue to do what you do best. And this goes for more than just fatigued ears and a tired mind. If you're getting upset or frustrated with a song or a particular track and you're working really hard, but nothing you're trying is working and it's just frustrating you, take a break then too. That time to step back and reflect on where you're at and what's going wrong can offer you a better perspective and a fresh outlook to solve whatever problem you're running into, get past that hurdle, and get that thing across the finish line. There's no excuse not to budget any time in for breaks throughout this process. You gotta do it. You'll be better off for it. Another thing that I wish I had been told starting out, and is one that I've had to be pushed into doing a little bit as well, is learning how to reference properly. When you're working on something, generally you're gonna reference your work, whether it's a song you've written or a song you're producing or mixing for somebody else, against something that's already out there, already been released. You'll have an idea or a vision of what it's supposed to sound like in your head, or your collaborator will, and you need something that's a yardstick, so to speak, to see how your work measures up to what's out there and how competitive it can be in the same space. But when I say learn to reference properly, what I really mean is choose material that you know really well. You should know it like the back of your own hand, that fits with whatever you're working on. Imagine your song or the song you're working on are on a playlist together on Spotify, a large playlist of all music that would fit together on a playlist, or a more outdated example might be a song that would be played on the same radio station as the song that you're working on. Learn and develop your ear for listening to more than just volume, similarities, and differences. Are the guitars bright and dark compared to the reference that you're using? Is the kick drum driving the subs, or is it the bass element? Where do the vocals sit? Are they up front? Are they in the back? Are they bright and dark? There's a lot of things to consider when referencing to see just how close the work you're doing is to whatever you're putting it up against. It's something that's going to take a lot of time to learn, and will get easier and you will get faster as you put the reps in and learn how to develop your ear. Remember, and this is important, the goal of referencing isn't just to make your mix or song sound exactly the same as the reference. It's really just a map to make sure that you don't get lost with where you're trying to end up. And the last thing that I wish I had been told is to never, ever stop learning. And this kind of seems silly, like, John, I'm learning every day. I'm still learning things every time I open up YouTube. I'm searching for the next tip, the next trick. I'm trying to find books to read about how to get better at this. And that's the point. Never stop learning, because audio production, music, songwriting is a never-ending learning journey. You're going to keep learning for the rest of your life. If you want to be good at this, if you want to stay relevant, you're going to continue to learn because the industry is changing each and every single day. Technological advances are driving change, workflows change, and new ways to do things are being discovered each and every day, even with old tools. You're never going to learn it all. You're never going to know it all. The only difference is if you do this every day and you continue to learn every day, you are going to continually get better. As you learn more, you'll also realize there's countless ways to achieve the same result. And you may find in your journey that there are areas that you're lacking in or things that you're not as good at that other people aren't lacking in and may be much better than you. Seek those people out and learn from them. Even top engineers in this industry who have been doing this for a very long time and are very good continually learn from each other as they collaborate and learn from producers as they continue to work on different projects. They'll take those tricks that they learn or things that they may not have thought of doing before and add it to their own toolkit. With that being said, also be mindful of who you're learning from. There's plenty of content everywhere that bills itself as educational content about this craft that is completely, utterly useless garbage. And a lot of that completely, utterly useless garbage comes in the form of courses that you pay for. These gurus will take your money and not think twice about giving you some garbage tips or a cheat sheet that may work once, but not in all situations. This craft is not a set it and forget it, one-size-fits-all solution for each and every project that comes across your desk. You will find that you will be experimenting a lot. If you want to pay for content, there is good content out there. I personally can recommend two institutions. The first one is Unstoppable Recording Machine, otherwise known as URM. Their content is geared more towards metal musicians and metal music. But if metal is not your jam, I still strongly suggest that you check them out because the content that they do have goes over the foundations that you need to start understanding concepts. Things like learning how to hear compression, learning how to hear what good balance is, how to use certain tools like Melodyne, and so much more. I could honestly go on and on. URM is something that I personally have paid for the past 2 years and still continue to pay for because I'm always learning something new from the content that they post and that they produce. Even though I've personally been doing this for the past 15 years and both of us here at Twisby Records went to college for this, I've still paid for URM for the past 2 years because I'm never going to stop learning. The second recommendation I can give is something a little further down the line after you start to develop your skills, develop your ear, and you're looking for little bits of the secret sauce of some of the top engineers to learn how they do what they do and to see if those tips and tricks can fit into your toolkit is Mix with the Masters. A lot of their content, they don't go down to the bare bones surface level, and some of the engineers that they have on there don't explain everything down to the finest detail. They'll brush past some things that might just be such common knowledge to them, they don't feel the need to break that down. That being said, they do have some really great content with a lot of the top names in the game that will just give away the secret keys to their sauce, and it's there for the taking. I think it's a great compliment to somebody who already has a solid foundation that's looking to really get to the next level and maybe get a different perspective and exposed to some ideas that you just haven't thought of before. And mind you, we're not sponsored by Unstoppable Recording Machine or Mix with the Masters. We have no affiliate links. I'm not getting paid to say this. I just believe so strongly in the educational content that they produce that I wanted to share that with you watching this as the only two really solid options I can think. If you're going to pay somebody for content to learn about music production, mixing, mastering, all of that stuff, your money's best spent here because there's no shortage of people that are going to take your money and give you absolutely zero good information for it. If there's another course or program that you're curious about and you want us to know about, send us a DM and we'll take a look at it and we'll give you our opinion on whether or not we think your money would be well spent pursuing that course or if you're better off saving it and looking at other options. Anytime you're dealing with passion, and audio engineering and music are two of the biggest fields with the most passion out there, you're going to deal with a lot of scammers and grifters trying to cash in and make a quick buck any way they can. And that's it. That was just a short, quick little list. I wanted to share with you some things that I wish I had known in the very beginning when I was starting out on my journey. I hope you find these helpful, and I hope they can help expedite some parts of your journey, or maybe even help you keep a little bit of money in your pocket. It's very hard to do these days. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this list. Do you agree or disagree with any of the things that I've touched on here today. If there's something you think I missed and you think would be helpful for other people, drop it in the comments as well. I'd love to read other people's perspectives and hear what you have to say. As always, with that, I'm John from Twisby Records. You've been the internet. See you next time.